Welcome to Conversations in Education. This is our last show of the year. We're wrapping up year number 10. Woo! So, with that being said, we're going to get right into our show. You're listening to WCEG Media Enterprises. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Log on to WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on your smart TV, on the Roku cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now on Fanbase, Blue Sky, and Twitch. Search for WCEG and subscribe, like, connect, and follow us on all social media platforms. I am Vincent Cheeks, your host of Conversations in Education for the next hour. Feel free to download our free WCEG mobile app. You can also say, "Hey Alexa, play WCEG Talk Radio." Listen to WCEG on any of our 11 podcast distribution platforms. Last but not least, our disclaimer: the topics and opinions are those of the show host and the guest, and not of WCEG Media Enterprises. As always, thank you for your continued support. Okay, I have a few announcements that I need to make, and then we will dive right into our show. First and foremost, I would like to say congratulations to all the graduates, high school, college, that are getting ready to graduate and move on to the next phase of life. And you too, middle schoolers and elementary schoolers, we're all getting ready to go into the next phase of life, and I wish you all the best. Just continue to keep education at the forefront because learning is the most important thing that you can do throughout life. So congratulations to all the graduates during this graduation period. I've seen at night riding around, I've seen them going out to homecoming, they dressed up, they got their cars, they looking good. So I remember those days. It's fun. Hold on to those days because once you become an adult, it's a little hectic. Secondly, I want to send a big shout out to the Kaumba Storytellers of Georgia and the Georgia Storytelling Network. We had our first collaboration together on this past Sunday for our Mama Tales event. And Mama Tales was basically our Mother's Day, our celebration of Mother's Day, where we had 7 wonderful storytellers come on and give us some spectacular stories about their mothers and the wisdom that their mothers have imparted on them over the years. It was very beautiful. It was very touching. And as I always like to say, mother is the word for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Happy belated day to all the mothers out there listening. Mama Tells, a great show on Sunday. I'm proud of all the tellers. I'm proud to have been a part of that program and looking forward to the next program, which should be Papa Tales coming up next month for Father's Day. I also want to say congratulations to my first cohort of artistic students that I worked with at the YMCA on May the 8th. We had our Golden Guys and Gals Talent Expo, or the G3 Talent Expo, which was my first big event that I produced in Fort Lauderdale, and I did it in conjunction with the YMCA, the LA Lee YMCA on Fish Trunk Boulevard on May 8th, and it was an amazing, amazing program. The children did wonderful. The parents were happy. The YMCA was happy. It was just an amazing all around thing. And I have 2 of the parents from the event on. They're my guests today. And towards the end of the show, we'll kind of talk about the talent show to kind of lift some of the heaviness off of the homeschooling topic that we're going to discuss. But again, I want to say congratulations. I did the G3 Talent Expo as a series, as a class series, where for 9 weeks I taught the students about the entertainment industry, taught them about stage presence, how to let their personality shine, and all these good tips on how to be a good performer. And I must say, they brought it home. They knocked it out the park. And I couldn't be more proud of my first Fort Lauderdale cohort of students that I have worked with. So congratulations to the G3 Talent Expo participants. Um, Next coming up in June, Juneteenth weekend, if you happen to be in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, I will be starring in a production uh, created by Mia Walters called Deep Greenwood Ignited. And it is the story of Black Wall Street. And if you are a melanated person, you should know the story of Black Wall Street. If you're not a melanated person, you should know the story of Black Wall Street because it is the story of one of the richest Black cities in America in 1921, fresh out of slavery. And they built it up starting in 1915. By 1921, it was what it was. And there was an incident where a white woman claimed assault by a Black man, which was not true. Of course, a mob formed and they wanted to go kill the young man. Black residents tried to stop them, and they started this whole race massacre. And they bombed and burned down 35 city blocks of Black excellence. So Mia Walters did a great job in recreating the telling of this story, and it has a cast of wonderful actors and people in it that really bring the story to life. So hopefully it'll be back in Atlanta sometime soon. But this year, Juneteenth 2026, oh, we in Tulsa, Oklahoma, baby. And we telling a story of Black excellence in Black history. So I hope anyone who's in Tulsa, Oklahoma can make that performance. I'm so excited. And last but not least, my final announcement, 1 month after Deep Greenwood Ignited, on July 18th, we have the KLG Variety Showcase, which is our, Mr. Kenny Green's youth talent show that he has been producing for 17 or 18 years, I believe he told me. And this will be my 5th year working with Mr. Kenny Green on the KLG Variety Showcase. And as Kenny and I both say, the L stands for Leon because both of our names, middle names, are Leon. So, Mr. Kenny Green, I hope you're ready. I'm excited about the KLG Variety Showcase this year. Last year on the KLG Variety Showcase, we had our youngest performer ever. We had a 4-year-old little girl whose name I can't remember right now, but she was 4 years old. She did the cutest little rap about how smart she was, how she knew her ABC, her 1, 2, 3, and she's a math genius and you need to get like me. It was so cute. So I'm hoping she's back again this year and really looking forward to see what the children have to offer this year. All right. And with that being said, we are going to jump into our show. Lost one of my guests there. I'm letting her back in. There she is, just in time, just in time. I'm going to make a brief introduction of these two wonderful ladies, and then we will dive right into our show. First up, we have Miss Myrhanda Ward. She is a parent in the Sistrunk Boulevard community. And not only is she a parent, she's a concerned parent, and she is a homeschool parent. And so I wanted to bring her on and talk to her about some of the decisions that led her to move into the homeschool arena. And we also have Miss Tammy Scott, who is, I discovered shortly after, was a homeschool mother. And I said, hey, we're doing this show about homeschooling. Tammy, are you interested? And she said, sure, Mr. Cheeks, I would love to. And she's another concerned parent. I want to welcome both Myrhanda and Tammy to the show. Welcome, 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 ladies. Unmute yourself so we can get started in this wonderful conversation. that we are going to have. How you doing today, Myrhanda?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mr. Cheeks, and thank you for having me today.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And Tammy, how are you, ma'am? We need your pretty face back on the camera and for you to unmute, please. You can just leave it off mute, but you're still muted, Tammy. Tammy, did I lose her? No, you're muted, Tammy. Unmute, Tammy. Yeah, nope, you're still muted, Tammy. Figure out to unmute Tammy, and then I'm gonna come back to you. Okay. All right. So I have discussed homeschooling on Conversations in Education before. This was a while back prior to COVID happening. So I know a lot of people don't remember it because COVID wiped a lot of our memories of old stuff clean. So I just wanted to revisit this topic because there are things happening in our society right now, in our government, that are really affecting our children in a negative way. And for me, once I started learning about homeschooling probably 10 years ago, I thought it was a viable option for parents to use to be able to um, make education more private and more fun for their children, but to also remove children from a lot of the negative things that sometimes happen in public schools. But we'll get into all of that. First, let me bring Tammy back in because she's unmuted. Tammy, thank
Hello.
you for joining us
My
today. How are
apologies. I'm
you?
not the most tech savvy.
Join the club. Join the club. Okay, I just told Myrhanda that when we were talking before we came on air that my genius was far and wide, but it stopped. Hard stop in technology.
Yeah.
So I do not fault you whatsoever, but thank you for being here, Miss Scott. Thank you, Miss Ward, for being here. Let's dive into this conversation because um, I don't think enough people really know about homeschooling, and I don't think a lot of people in our community really look into homeschooling. And so that's why I wanted to again do this show to kind of highlight this and to see if it may be a viable option for other parents. And so with that, we're going to jump right into the questions and get as much information as we can from these two wonderful parents about this topic. So, Myrhanda, I'll start with you. Why did you decide to homeschool your children?
Thank you, Mr. Cheeks. So initially, my son, he was going to public school and he was doing very well. He was thriving. He was the top of class.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ran into some troubling events at his school, and
Okay.
it caused him to have anxiety.
Mm. Okay.
So we decided, since I was already a stay-at-home mom at the time, that instead of putting him into another school, we decided to go ahead and try homeschool and see if we can work through the anxiety and just try to help him foster education before we return to public school. However,
Okay.
once we started with homeschool, we have not stopped yet.
And once you started with homeschool, what was the last part?
We haven't stopped. We've
Oh,
decided
you
to
haven't stopped yet.
continue longer.
Okay.
Yes.
And what grade was your child or children when you decided to put them in homeschool?
Yes, my son was in first grade when we decided to remove him from public school at the beginning of first grade when quite a bit was happening that we really disagreed with.
Okay. And are you comfortable sharing the troubling events that was happening at school that made you consider homeschool?
Yes, I can say one, there was some bullying that
Okay.
occurred.
Okay.
Also, there was an incident of a child being inappropriate with my son in a physical manner,
Hmm.
and that became a serious problem. And
Okay.
although we reported it, we found out later that it did not reach the channel that it should have.
Hmm.
And after an investigation, we decided that not enough was being done to handle the situation and to help my son, who was then dealing with extreme anxiety and would refuse to get out of the car at that point.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
he said this was not worth his sanity. And for a child only 6 go through that much, it was unacceptable in our household.
Hmm. I'm sorry to hear that. I hate to hear when children go through these traumatizing events because I don't know if parents really know, but bullying is traumatizing. Like that has a major effect on children and the productivity of children because if you're not focused right mentally, then you're not going to be able to do your schoolwork the way that you're supposed to. So I'm sorry that he had to experience that, but unfortunately, it is a reality for many children. This bullying thing, and I have
Yes.
a whole anti-bullying movement. Um, so yeah, I hate to hear stuff like that. Tammy, what about you? Was there? Why did you decide to homeschool your children?
It was kind of split in between two different reasons.
Okay.
So my oldest daughter, who's 23 now,
Mm-hmm.
she was so at 9 years old, she joined track and field and she competed
Okay.
at AAU, she competed nationally. And her dream was to get to the Olympics. So from 9 years old, we traveled a lot. And so
Okay.
even from there, we realized there was a lot of issues with like attendance and stuff like that. I had health issues. So a lot of absences. Mind you, at the time she was a straight A kid
Mm.
and teacher's pet all around, and she loved school. But I had a medical issue that was not diagnosed at the time. And so
Okay.
we're a military family at the same time. So my ex-husband was deployed a lot. So it was on me. And so because of my health issues, it affected her attendance. And then um, she became ill around the same time, approximately like maybe around 10. And we also didn't know what was wrong with her. And we didn't know at the time that we had the same medical issues. So fast forward to when she's about 12 years old, it progressed. She was hospitalized, lost count of how many times, and she went further like into more missing classes,
Okay.
not being hospitalized, so she couldn't attend class, and she had an IEP. There was like a lot going on,
Yeah.
but schools kept dropping the ball, and eventually her health progressed to the point where she was kind of forced into quitting track, and then 2 weeks later forced onto the school, like I forgot what it's called, Florida Virtual, I believe at the time,
Okay.
which is like a internet based schooling.
Okay. Got
So if, I don't know if that's how other people would describe it, that's what I'm calling it.
I got
And
you.
so she would take her classes on there, and I believe in the first 2 weeks she fell in love with it, and she was just like, I don't want to go back. And
Okay.
so we kind of kept her in it, and she thrived. She's always been a self-motivated child, so that really kind of helped her integrate. And the fact that at the time she was starting to sing, she traveled a lot, she was very like into sports. So from a very early age, she started a business. So
Okay.
she realized that she was able to balance her life better by having more hours in the day. And
Got
she was more productive in life overall because she was already a straight A kid. Schoolwork came very easy for her.
you. Okay.
So naturally, she just like loved it. Asia was always bullied. So even though she loved school, she didn't have friends.
Okay.
She had a lot of issues with bullying, a lot of issues with that. She was very shy, very reserved. Okay, so that is part one, I would say.
Got you. Okay.
She did end up going back into school around middle school, so she wasn't there long. in
Okay.
the homeschooling. So we fast forward, she went back to middle school.
So you
Bullying
started
started,
in elementary school.
huh?
You started in elementary school.
She was only in the virtual thing for maybe like less than a few months, because at the
Okay.
time my husband at the time was deployed. We came down to
Okay.
Florida, and that's when everything happened, kind of at that 9-month period.
Gotcha.
So when we moved back up north, she went back into regular middle school. Bullying became worse. Like it was very hard for her to fit in. She had a couple friends, but she just didn't like it.
Yeah.
So she ended up one day I ended up getting a letter in the mail, and they were taking me to court because
Who
of
was taking you to court?
attendance.
The school.
Me,
Wow. Okay.
me, the mother of the straight A child with no behavioral issues, teachers pet all around, honor student. I was being sent to court because of the attendance. I give you an example. I don't know how many days of school days we have out of the 365 days of the year. But in that one year, she missed 100 and something days, all documented though,
Yeah.
medically,
Okay.
all proven, all provable. She had an IEP in place, right? An IEP, for people who don't know, is for example, children with any type of need assistance, external assistance, at where they can accommodate the child to be able to do their schooling, to be able to basically stay in the classroom. So for example, medically, like she couldn't wait to use the restroom, so they would give her a pass all day. She just had to like get up and go.
Yeah.
Part of that is IEP accommodations, extra time to take her test if she needed, like if she missed her a few days, she can catch up. So the IEP is in place.
I want to let people know IEP stands for Individual Education Plan.
Correct. And in order to receive one, you have to go through extensive like meetings. You have to have an extensive amount of documentation from doctors, multiple doctors. And at the time, Asia had at least 8 different specialists, every ologist you can think of, because it was a multi-systemic issue that she had, which falls under muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
And at the time, what was I going to say? She also had another plan in place where the teachers, if she missed more than 3 days, the teacher could come to the house and help her there.
Okay.
But with the school, everything fell between the cracks, and somehow I was the scapegoat. So I put my lawyer cap on. And it was a 2-hour conversation. And by the end of it, I was getting phone calls from superintendents. I was getting calls because I threatened to sue.
Okay.
And so they left her alone. They dropped the court thing, and we went about our business. Now, fast forward, I had my other children, and by then my health was just rock bottom. Yeah. And it was a lot of things going on with the school. Also, they had dealt with bullying. It was a lot of issues with me being singled out for my disorder. And because it was a rare disorder, it was very unpredictable. And at the time, we moved to New Jersey, and there was a doctor. So I was also dealing with a lot of doctors who medical malpractice me, weren't believing me. It was a lot going on behind the scenes. Again, military family.
That's a whole other show about how doctors don't believe Black women.
Yes. And so, mind you, I came close to death many times because of doctors refusing to treat me medically because they didn't believe I was sick. Right. And so this trickled down to affect my kids and their schooling. And even though all of this there's measures in place, things were falling between the cracks. And so by the time the other kids were like in 3rd, 4th grade, I had another lawsuit. I won that lawsuit. I went through with that one. I won. Okay. And it had to do with discrimination with the handicap and the medical issues and everything. And so by that time I was done. I was like, I put them in homeschool, and I remember at that time speaking with a lot of parents who were also contemplating the same thing. Right. And right before I did that right before 2020. Okay. So funny enough, when all my kids finally went into homeschool, everybody went into homeschool right after. Kind of just like sealed the deal. And I was like, okay. But when COVID was over, we never went back. And so those are my three kids. I have a younger one who's 9 now. I'm not sure how old he was at the time. He's never been in school. Okay. And let me tell you something. His intelligence, that gave me like a scientific way of seeing things. I had a little experiment and didn't even realize that I'm not insulting myself or my children, but the intelligence level, the emotional regulation, the lack of anxiety, because all my other kids had major anxiety of the testing, the nonstop testing. He's the only child that didn't experience that. And he's the only child that I felt like had no type of trauma when it came to bullying, when it came to self-esteem, when it came to, he's the most normal child. And I look back now and I'm like, I wish I never put my kids in public school or any of that, because when you send your kids, most of the things that are happening are out of your control that you don't know about, you're not advised on. Your kids are not telling you everything right away, and they're suffering in silence. And to see one of my kids never take that path and to see how he thrived, big difference.
Thank you, both of y'all.
Yeah. So partially because of medical issues, partially because of bullying, and partially because I was over the system. The system needs to be changed.
The system
it's broken.
The system is not broken. System is running. The system was not created for us. The system is operating the way it's supposed to operate because the system was not created for us. Okay. And so both of y'all just said, I only asked one question. Okay. And both of y'all said a lot. Okay. Both of y'all mentioned bullying. Both of y'all mentioned you talking to the school and the school not responding the way y'all felt should be an appropriate way. And then Tammy, when you just talked about emotional regulation and how a lot of times the children are suffering in silence like that, is powerful. That is very, very powerful. So okay, we're gonna continue because that and the bullying and the school not performing or doing what they're supposed to do, we're going to circle back to that after we get through a few more questions. So Myrhanda, how does the homeschool process work? Like you decided you were going to take them out of public school. How does the process continue from there?
So what you have to do to begin the homeschooling process is you have to submit a notice of intent. So you're notifying the school superintendent, you're notifying the county that you are removing your child from the public school system.
Okay.
And that has to be done within 30 days of starting the homeschool with your child.
Within 30 days?
That's done, yes, within 30 days. It has to be within 30 days. Once you've completed that part of the process, then you want to keep a portfolio of your child's work. So with keeping a portfolio of work is, different assignments or projects that they're working on, reading level that they're on. You just always want to keep on file what they're doing. Now, the beauty of doing homeschool online is that part is taken care of for you in most circumstances. So, for instance, in our house, we have Power Homeschool, which is LS, and my son is able to all of his core classes, the math, the language arts, the science. He's able to complete all of that. We also add their languages. He's done coding. He's done every level coding so far, elementary, and he's only in 3rd grade. Okay. And once he completes that, they have the transcript that I'm able to submit. You do have to submit an annual evaluation. And this makes sure the child is they're on the level that they're supposed to be on and that they're not falling behind. Okay. And as for my son, he advanced. So with him in 3rd grade, he's typically taking only 5th and 6th grade classes. And his writing level is 7th and 8th grade. So he has everything he needs on transcripts. I still keep on the side extracurricular activities or any type of assignment I give him. I will give him handout, just, extra information I feel that he should learn that he might not have learned while in public school.
Okay.
And that has to go through the evaluation process that you can either do a standardized test or some type of evaluation that is given through the county,
Okay.
or you can choose from the list of teachers, certified teachers, someone to evaluate their work, and the teacher will tell you what you need to send to them, whether it be 2 or 3 assignments from each class, or if you just need the transcripts, whatever the case may be. Once they evaluate it, send back, and then you're good for another year. And every time you submit your evaluation, it has to be by the deadline, the day that the child has started homeschool. So in our case, we start homeschool in November. So in November, I have to make sure to have evaluations submitted.
Okay. And you go from November to May?
November to November.
What, November to November
Mm-hmm.
is your homeschool?
So whatever we're doing throughout the year, I know that one issue that my son had is because you have to navigate everything when you get started learning, okay, how do I strip away what they typically do in school and how to make this, something that is customized for my child.
Okay.
So at first, my son was not getting vacations the way that everyone else was getting vacations because I was just learning the process myself.
Yeah.
So he said, well, why is it that day before Christmas I have to do it? I said, honey, I don't just do it. Just so you have it done because I don't know what is needed at this point.
Right.
But after a while, I learned that attendance does not work the same way that it does in public school. He's not going to get a letter of truant or anything because he missed whatever day, because every day is with me. I'm the teacher, I'm the principal, I'm a counselor, I'm a nurse, I'm a cafeteria lady, I'm everything that boy needs. So we go November to November, making sure that he's doing his assignment. I do now give him breaks, just not necessarily the same breaks that everyone else gets. We pick and choose when we want to take breaks.
Okay.
But we do make sure that by the time next number rolls around, he has enough credit that shows that he has been working the entire year. He is exactly where he needs to be. And in his case, he is actually well above
Right.
his level. So he surpassed all the classes that he's that he has to take for the entire year.
Okay. All right. And what about you, Tammy? Is your process similar to Myranda's, or did you have a different process?
So copy and paste everything she said.
Okay.
With the weeks. So I also was a child who was a straight A, then straight AB student.
Okay.
Principal honor roll, every honor roll. I remember being in 9th grade with all seniors. I was very good in school. Yeah, I was very good in school. I was very good at tests. Everybody cheated off me, and I didn't care. Hey, copy my paper. But I wasn't learning. I wasn't retaining information. And I remember being like about 15. I remember being about 16 years old. And I remember saying to myself, if I ever had kids and they don't want to be in school, I'm okay with that, because I wish someone had took me out. I knew then I did not like it. It's not for me. It wasn't for me. And mind you, I was in everything. I was in band, I was in choir, I was in track. I was well-rounded. I was in dance. And I spent a lot of my lunches, I was very popular. I spent a lot of my lunches helping teachers grade papers. I loved the experience of school. I loved engaging with people and that my fellow classmates and everything, but I had no friends per se. Now that I look back, that were like actually genuinely my friends.
Yeah.
And it was a very lonely experience, but because of my personality, I was like, it was also positive. That makes sense. But I remember back then wanting to not be in school. I had a friend who at 16, she dropped out. She moved to Germany and she graduated early. She got her GED and she went, and by 17, I was like, she was done. And I was like, I remember thinking, why did I do that?
Right.
Why? And then she became an attorney.
Yeah.
Right. So the same kind of measures that she went through, I did similar with the children. The difference is I believe in experiences. I believe I like to teach my children through life experience. Maybe it's like a past life of being a nomad. I don't really know, but I love to bring my children. So we have passes to museums. They've been exposed to a lot of things that most kids unfortunately don't get the access to, because I was aligned with nonprofits. I was aligned with a lot of like cultural things. I seek out a lot of things that I gravitate to,
Right.
you know, like Broadway shows and stuff like that. And I like for them to like connect with business owners and CEOs and managers and kind of get mentorship from like everybody.
Yeah, let them
you
see
know.
that. Yeah.
And
That's
all
good.
of my kids at one point had their own business and they were selling and they were making money and they were meeting people and they were traveling. And I know for a fact that based on me and my childhood, how I grew up, that kids, they need experiences, real world experiences. Because when you're in school and you're sitting down, or even as an adult, when you go to like beauty cosmetology school, it's not until you get into the shop or the salon when you really start to understand how everything works. And so the process with me was more so, in the beginning, was more so, I want you to learn outside of the school. And then on the testing part, we just all gonna take the test. We just all gonna do this. We just all gonna do that. So I was very big on, I don't care how the answers get in the computer system, as long as you learn it some way, shape, or form, right? And so that's what I did. And so with the other ones, they're in a thing called Time for Learning. Time for Learning is one of many different programs that you can sign up for. So at the time when they were in it, it was like $30 a month for the child, and they provide the curriculum. They sit down, they watch the videos. You have human teachers in the videos. You can call and, you know, customer service if there's an issue. They print out like, not like a transcript that you would receive in school, but like their own type of, like, they keep scores. So you have, you can print out proof of the children and their percentage and what they're passing and everything. They don't receive a diploma, because remember, I have a 23-year-old. We found out through her, she ended up getting a GED because of the move. We moved from up north. So people don't realize different states have different mandates. Different states have different regulations. And so when we were living up north, they don't care. They encourage homeschooling. They encourage the parents teaching how they feel the child is best to learn. And when you move to Florida, they have a lot more things you got to go through and processes and all that stuff. So when we started, all we had to do was write and say that the child is going into homeschool, and it wasn't like an annual test. It wasn't an annual check-in. It wasn't any of that. They didn't care if you were with the curriculum, if the parent taught them, if they learned from a tutor. It was kind of like a lot more free flowing and free range, if that makes sense. So Florida definitely has a lot more regulations when it comes to the homeschooling process, I would say so. But I can't speak on like other states outside of Jersey and Virginia. But when it came to Mari, again, completely different experience, because what I learned with Amari was I didn't even, when he turned 5, 6, 7, even 8, I said 6, 7, the kids are like, when he, I did not start him in school, period. Like, he wasn't enrolled in Time for anything. However, we had ABC Mouse, we had, Hooked on Phonics, we had I did something different with Amari, and it blew my mind. I remember in I think, Jordan, you came out of school 3rd grade. So I think Jordan went up to 3rd grade, 4th grade, and Layla went up to 4th or 5th, right? Yeah, Jordan went up to third, Layla went up to fourth grade. So one of my last memories was of Jordan, and this is Jordan. Hello.
What's up, Jordan? My photographer.
So one of my, I'm not gonna lie, not my fondest memory of my child school experience. He came home
Okay.
today, and I have great kids, by the way. You know what I mean? Like they're really good kids. This dude holds doors open for people. They're very polite. They're very easygoing. This
Yeah.
child, and I never like my kids are not the kids that you have to like punish a lot. That you say something and they stop.
Right.
My kids are the ones who will snitch on other kids on the playground. They're not supposed to be doing that. So one day Jordan comes home, mind you, the nonstop testing in schools. I never loved that, and I never agreed with that. And
Right.
it's like the kids go to school to pass tests, and that's
Right.
pretty much
Yeah,
it. And I'm just like, what is this? And he comes home one day. My husband at the time was there, and he's shaking. He's like, no, you got to teach me how to do this. And I'm trying to teach him there's different ways to get the same answer. And
Right.
he
Yeah,
would not let me.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's not how my teacher did it. And he's like tiny little. How old are you in fourth grade? At third grade, you would be like 8.
8, 9.
Like
Yeah.
8, 9. Mm-hmm.
Imagine a tiny little petite little baby with big eyes just like shaking. And he's telling me I'm his parent. And he's telling me I can't learn the way you're teaching me because my teacher said it has to be this way. And I'm sitting here like, no, Jordan, there's different ways to get to the same, destination. And he's crying, he's shaking, he's having anxiety, he's having a panic attack. And I'm sitting here like, oh no. Oh no. That day shifted every part of me. And after that is when I advocated to take them out. I was like, my child's not going back. That it's too much. Yeah. It's too much testing and too much stress on these kids. Guess what blew my mind with Amari? I didn't start him, not on purpose. But again, he's around older kids. He's around me. I'm always teaching my children life lessons, street smarts, book smarts, things about other countries. I'm testing them on which artist is singing this song. Okay, who did, like, I'm testing them. I'm bringing them to places where they're exposed to things that will teach them further than I can. I realized I never purposely put Amari in school at the time when he was supposed to be like signed up, at 5, 6. And guess what? He was able to naturally gravitate to what he learned, like was knowledgeable in by himself, what he came into the world with. I found out he's like a mathematical genius. I found out like he uses like really big 3, 4, 5 syllable words. Yeah. And this is, mind you, when he's like 6. Right. And I realized very early on, wait, let me see how far this goes. So I would purposely not put him into testing and any of these things. And he surpassed everybody from when I remember when they were that age. And I'm like, everything came naturally. And what it taught me was, it's not that we don't need school. I'm not saying that. And it's not that we don't need the education and the textbooks and everything. But if you give it time, you're going to learn it. You're going to pick up on it. Yeah. You're going to start to utilize the same things without the force and the stress and the pressure.
In the pressure. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. You're right.
Yeah.
And so something you said, Tammy, and it leads into my next question I was going to ask, is there a financial cost associated with homeschooling? And you don't have to get very personal about it.
Yes and no, because $30, I don't know how much I paid. I think I paid like $75 for the month for everybody.
Okay. For everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3, because my oldest is 23. So for 3, for everybody. But mind you, I added on stuff. So they have add-ons that you can, for example, financial literacy.
I didn't know that.
You can learn basically all kinds of things. And also, because they have free time. Okay, so for example, Jordan does photography.
Yes.
So because they have all this extra free time, they're able to learn other things and go out, and they can create their schedule the way they want to. And so financially, it's not a burden at all.
Yeah.
because if you think about it, you may have parents that they don't live within a certain mileage from the school, so they have to bring their child. That's gas.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about, different things that I don't have to pay for, so it kind of equals out in a way to the same thing. You know what I mean? And they recently got approved for the Step Up program. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
That program, honey. So that program for children in Florida, each child they have, I think, 3 different areas where they can apply for like a scholarship, and they pay for courses and lessons and tutoring and equipment and supplies. And yes, and when I first got introduced to it, I thought it was like, oh, okay, because someone said, oh, we got a blackboard and a whiteboard, and I'm like, oh, okay. No, they play photography equipment, like actual dance classes, jiu-jitsu, more like as long as it's something that helps the child to pursue
things that should still be in school that they have taken out of school.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha.
If they want to do art, they'll pay for the art supplies. If they want to take a different course, and then you have other college courses, for example, I think like one is called Coursera, Harvard. Was it Harvard? I can't remember which one it was. My daughter, she does it, where they literally put on their website all these free courses. Anyone can take them. So I introduce the kids to things that kids are taking in college. I teach them things that they're not necessarily that they need right now, but I see how it will benefit them. And I only focus on the things that they're interested, that they're gravitated to, that their purpose.
That they're passionate about.
Yes.
That
And
makes sense.
soon that we're all going to be starting with them teaching other kids things. And so now you get entrepreneurs able to focus on entrepreneurship at a younger age in a way that, you don't have the access to, because if you have all those hours that are like taken away from you during the day, you don't get to do a lot of things. On top of that, would you guys say the cost? I think the cost, to me, the cost is not a factor at all.
Okay, what about you, Myrhanda? You what is your?
I think Tammy and I were living.
Wait, I forgot. I'm so sorry. And then I found out. So when September starts, for example, Step Up is just one of many programs. They will cover the cost. I just found out about it too late. I think it's been around for years. So you have programs that will pay for your homeschooling if you have to pay for it. And there's other parents that they don't sign up for a course. They make their own curriculum. You can make your own curriculum, and it's free.
Gotcha.
You can bring them to a public library and print out things and create your own thing for your child. Each child is different, and it'll be free. So you don't have to sign up for something.
Okay. All right. Myrhanda?
No, I think that Tammy and I are living the same lives. It's just I have 2 boys. Although people are encouraged to have more, I'm okay right now. But no, for expenses, when I tell you the last time that my husband and I spent money on school supplies for the school, we paid over, I think it was close to $500 for what they were requiring for our child's spring. However, we also found out that our child's not using most supplies. It all went into like community pool, and supplying other children. And in case teachers, I understand teachers who need supply. I understand that I have a background in tutoring and coaching. I understand that.
Yeah.
But saying all the money that we spent, and I said, well, honey, why do you need 6 sticks of glue? I don't understand. Why do they need that many? I can't just give you. No, that they all said I need 5 packs of paper and I need 12. I'm like, for what? What are you doing in a day?
Yeah.
So, and they say, oh no, they put it in the closet, and the teacher, they also have this extra. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's just the expenses of supplies. Then yes, gas. Sitting in a car line just to pick up your child. I would sit for an hour, almost 2 hours sometimes. And in this Florida heat, you can't stay there with the AC off. So
Yeah.
sitting there, just running gas, waiting for my child to come out, trying to be the first one in line so that I can get home, turn the car back off.
Yeah.
I mean, the gas alone, and then if your child is not wanting a certain school, it becomes a hassle. Then also volunteer hours that a lot of schools require from the parent. If you fulfill the volunteer hours because work schedules, then you have to pay to compensate for the hours that you can't fulfill. So for us, pay for holiday events for the school, for costumes, for uh, you know, you're trying doing some type of book grade, all of the amounts of money that we were spending just in the span of a few months, that's been cut down drastically.
Okay.
There are certain supplies that I find in the house. I'm like, honey, let's figure. We don't have to get stacks and stacks of paper. You don't need scissors to do this. What we can do is be creative. Figure out what we have in the house right now. If pipe, okay, well, I have a stash over here. But honestly, finish the toilet roll there. Let's use that. We're going to make a robot of whatever we find in this kitchen, living room, family, whatever. And the beauty of my schedule right now with my child that work for me, I work in a church. I am the administrator, and
Okay.
we are only a few minutes from the house. We can walk if we want to.
Yeah.
So I'm not wasting gas all the time. I'm not wasting money on supplies. For any type of events, it's either something I take into and we find a lot of free resources.
Okay.
So we're not spending nearly as much as we did. And yes, I agree with online classes. For my son, it's only maybe 20 something a month.
Okay.
And that makes sure that he's covering all the classes. We do have Adams as well. So
Okay.
if I want to, you know, give him a little extra to keep him stimulated, I can. If I feel like going to Amazon and purchasing some notebooks or works for him or something just to, because he finishes his work honestly with an hour and a half. I don't know
Okay.
how the kid does it. We from a household that yes we all made strings as well, and if we did there was a problem, if we made ABs, then we were able to explain the reason why,
Yeah.
and he's the same way. So we might give him something because when I say he finishes his work too fast and comes, mommy, what do I now? Like at this point, read a book, play chess, reading, and that's also a part of he does the freedom to be able to partake in activities that he may not find in school,
Okay.
and he can study different types of subjects. Like he is a chess whiz, but also now our new hobby is hockey. And
Okay.
I'm not there. He is. I'm not there yet. But that's, he spends a lot of time studying, when it comes to cars, he'll sit there, study the car to where he knows every part of the car, how to take it apart, put it back together, what needs to be done, how this will work in a race, why that car can go at a certain speed, the tires that this can take gear, but this one takes up. We go through
At 9 years old.
all of it at 9 years old. And by the time he was 3 years old, he was saying words in his early center that even baffled the teachers, saying there's so much fuss in here. I have to go home because this is irritating. He would have these adult conversations.
Yeah.
And this is because of the education that we provide at home. We were already technically homeschooling before he went into the public system. And everyone saying, well, what are you doing? We're just like, we just feed into him whatever it is that we know that he needs to know. Just
Yeah.
sit down and say, hey, let's study sign language. Let's study Spanish. Let's go over the beginning of code. Now, coding, like we were talking about before, that's a different story. He's figuring it out. Mommy's catching up. Mommy's catching up, but we do it together.
Okay.
But if it wasn't for the fact that he has homeschool, he wouldn't be able to explore as much. He would be
Right.
given the curriculum that system wants him to have, rather than saying, or you're in this.
Right.
Let's go ahead and figure it out. Let's Write down, word out. If you don't like it, then let's switch up.
So homeschooling, I guess, gives them a little bit more freedom to be self-aware,
Absolutely.
self-educated.
A lot more freedom.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No comparison.
Yeah,
No comparison.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
And
that's why
they
they
can
love it
be
so much.
themselves. They don't have to perform. They don't have to become somebody. They don't have to, another thing about cost, the clothing, every school year we will pay
Yes.
100. We don't have to worry about, oh, they gotta impress or their kids, or they're gonna be made fun of if they
Yeah.
wear this, or
Okay.
yeah. So freedom in every area. Like, I feel like it definitely helped their self-esteem. I definitely feel like it helped, boost their morale. It gave them a sense of like autonomy, in the sense of like, I can control what I can control and not have to worry about you trying to control me, you trying to like project onto
Yeah.
me. And it can come from teachers, it can come from students, it can come
Yep.
from anywhere.
Yep. You're right.
And so when you're kind of, another thing, I do have to say this: homeschooling is not for every child.
Okay.
It is
Okay.
not for every child. Not every child will excel in homeschooling. Why do I say that? I say that because unless you're going to be a parent, unless you're going to be the parent that is like, basically, what would the teacher do? Be like on them? Like,
Yeah.
your child has to be self-motivated,
That's
self-driven.
important.
Your child has to be disciplined and
Yep.
responsible.
Yep.
Your child has to want to have to like sit down and actually do the work, and make sure they're taking notes and taking it in. If you
Yeah.
have a child that's not wanting to do that or does not fit into that criteria, they need
Yeah.
to be in a very structured environment, not necessarily in a school system, but they need to be in some kind of structured environment, or
Yeah.
it won't work out. If you're a
So,
parent that's like working, 9 to 5, 10 to 11 p.m., and you're expecting your child to get on there, log on to the platform, do the work in a timely manner, and your child is not under the description I said, they are
yeah.
going to not succeed in that. And they're going to actually hate it.
Yeah.
They're going to actually hate it. Some kids actually do better when they have, a setting in a school. Some kids
Yeah.
do better in a setting with a teacher, in a setting that's away from their homes,
Yeah. Yeah.
because not
You
everybody
get
has
comfortable
a
at home.
safe home environment.
Yeah. You're right. Okay. I think we lost Tammy real quick, but Myrhanda, to your point of what you said about Destin being in chess and all of that, one of the stats that I saw said that homeschoolers are 2.3 times more likely to participate in extracurricular activities than public school students. And so you kind of highlighted that point. And Tammy did also, when she was talking about Jordan doing photography and all the extracurricular things that they do. Does Jordan do anything? I mean, does Destin do anything else outside of chess?
Yes, he definitely does. So he's really into sports, and he's been on a basketball team, which we're
Okay.
planning on putting him another team again. And when I say since he was 2, he loved basketball, and
Wow.
he excels in it. He excels, but he also likes to switch up. So then
Yeah.
he'll want baseball, and then, like I said, hockey is now the thing.
Okay.
Um, I don't skate on the ice, so he's on his own with that one. We'll take him. He can figure it out. But he also has a very theatrical side.
Yeah.
So he's yes, he's done solo performances either for church or for City Hall, whether
Okay.
it's about Black History Month or whatever the subject might be. He's performed in front of the Hollywood vice mayor, mayor, and the
Okay.
commissioners. Same now
Excellent.
for Fort Lauderdale. But we also want him to be able to communicate with other kids and different age ranges. So he is now a part of Teen Broadway with
Okay.
YMCA, and
Okay.
also recently participated in the Talent Expo, which loved. So yes, a boy. But we do try to make sure that he is involved in extra after school curricular activities, even swimming. He's been in swimming classes. So we try to keep him active. He might appear to be shy sometimes, but don't let that fool you. The kid has so much energy and so much to give. So we say we need to channel some of that because mommy's getting on up there. Daddy, we're not spring chickens anymore.
Right,
So you
right,
need to put
right.
all that energy to something.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
he loves doing other activities other than just schoolwork, and we still encourage making sure you complete all your assignments. He is a perfectionist, so if he gets 95,
Oh Lord.
what did I do wrong?
Oh Lord.
No, mom, it's incorrect. Can I take this again? So
One of
he's
those.
self-motivated. He really is. But absolutely, sports, any type of, even when it comes to gaming, we told him they could become a gamer since he's into coding.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
use that because this is how you
Absolutely.
create careers as a child.
Yeah.
And by the time you're old, you're not worrying about, hey, do I need to apply for a job? Well, what's my next step? Because you can be the employer, you can run the company, you
Yeah.
can create game, you
Yeah.
can own NASCAR if you want. That's all up to you and how far you want to. You just have to keep pushing and praying because we are a family that is very, very serious about our faith, and we say pray out everything, give
Yeah.
it all to God,
Yeah.
and then it's up to you, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when Tammy was talking about how homeschooling is not for every child, and she was talking about this being self-motivated. That's the same thing I tell people about being an entrepreneur, because it's the same thing being
Yes.
an entrepreneur. Like you have to make yourself do all the things that you need to do to be successful. And every day you're not gonna feel like doing those things. Okay. And so you have to force
Right.
yourself to be like, okay, if I want this 5 to 10 years from now, then I need to get up today and make myself do what I need.
Thanks. And get it done.
And I tell, like my mom used to tell me when I was little, like your only job is to go to school. That's your job. And so if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
take your only job, which is school, and treat it like an entrepreneurship, you're going to have those characteristics of self-motivating and do I really want to get this done to be where I envision myself being 5 to 10 years from now? Do I want to do this today? And so you have to have those conversations with
Yes.
yourself. So I thought that was a good analogy when Tammy made that statement. So let me ask you this, ladies. I'll start with you, Tammy. Um, one of the biggest knocks that I've seen about homeschooling is that it messes with children's developmental, helps them, messes up their developing socially. So, do you think that homeschooling has an adverse impact on children developing social skills, i.e., communication, working in group projects, and just socializing with children their age?
I think that it's used as a scapegoat when that happens. I think that it's
Oh,
cop out. I think
okay.
that it's up to the parents to bring your kids to different avenues, places, events so that they can
Okay.
socialize.
Yeah.
There's so many places and events taking place that you just have to make a little bit more effort to allow your kids to socialize. So I do see I have met a lot of kids in homeschooling who were very awkward socially. However, I have met kids who attend school who are very awkward socially.
That's very true. That is
You know
very,
what I
very
mean? So it's like
yeah.
now with my kids in particular, they go to a lot of different things. They have crews, so they're part of like so they go to church a lot. They're part of like their church organization. They're part of like the production team. They're part of their crews.
Yeah.
They involve themselves in things that their crews are like, how would you describe a crew? It's like, okay, let's say the YMCA, right? So the YMCA, so they attend the YMCA, right? And so you see how the kids are in the YMCA, the youth.
Yeah.
So the YMCA will have like maybe 100 different crews.
Uh-oh. I think we lost you again, Tammy. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
Tammy's out there in mommy mode driving the children around. So let's break it on over to you, Myrhanda. Do you think homeschooling has an adverse impact on children in these areas?
I definitely agree with Miss Tammy. I think it's a common misconception. The child doesn't have to be socially awkward, but if that's something that they're dealing with, then involve them in activities. Help them to get out there so that they can find their own people. My son is heavily involved with the youth ministry at our church, and that's where I saw a lot of his strong connections are with kids who are like-minded, who believe in the same thing, who have the same type of practices at home. So his best friend he met here at the church. And they treat each other like brothers. You know, if one's feeling down, well, let me give you a little word. Let me speak some life into you. Let me tell you that you're covered by God through the blood of Jesus, and we love you. And hey, I'm here for you. That's, you're finding your connections with people. Even when my son is at Team Broadway, he knows who he's connecting with. He knows, hey, these two girls are just like me, and we both love Legos, we love this, we love that. So as long as you're helping them to step out on their own a bit, hey, here's an activity, I know you like this sport, why don't you go ahead and talk to the other guys because they like that sport too. They're finding ways to communicate. And like Miss Tammy said, you can go to public school, no offense to a child or parent, but I've seen a lot of kids who just have struggles socially, in school, and they're with children all day long. So it depends on the child and how the parent helps them to grow. We have to continue to pour into them. Yes. And we're strong believers that it's a village to raise a child. So our village is comprised of places that we take in, like activities that we put in, the home training, the neighbors. We trust the neighbor kids, we trust the neighbors, and we have to the same like, hey, your son is kind of running out in the street. Thank you for letting me know. Come here, and we'll work on that. So, it's not really homeschool that's causing children to not be social. It's just whatever they could be dealing with at the time. We don't know their background specifically. We don't know what they've dealt with. And a lot of times, even in public school, due to bullying, due to, let's be honest, kids could be mean. They could be
very mean. They're very mean. Any age.
Yes. So, a lot of anxiety can start very from the school system. Who knows? But not school that's causing it. If your child happens to just dance to the beat of his arm or hers, let her do it. And at the same time, if they need to be directed in a certain way, then redirect, help them, talk to them. It's not because homeschool that they're facing challenges. We all face challenges regardless. We just have to find solutions for them.
Right. And like you both said, it falls back to the parent. And what are you doing to help socialize your children?
Exactly.
So I want to give a couple of statistics, and then I'm going to go into the last question so we can start wrapping this up. One of the stats is homeschoolers score 10 to 15% higher on measures of self-esteem compared to public school students. And I think Tammy mentioned that earlier, that she sees that her children's self-esteem are higher. And a 2023 survey by Homeschool Examiner found 95% of homeschoolers are college bound. So I think that's an excellent stat. And again, it goes back to, I think, what you both mentioned about having higher esteem and also about having the freedom to find your passions in the things you really like. And it motivates you, self motivates you to just be better in all facets, in all areas.
You get confidence.
Yeah,
You know, it's easier
yeah.
to maintain confidence if it's not shut down, like stifled and like silenced. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times in schools, you compare yourself as a child, you compare yourself to another child who has a little bit more brightness to them, or they're stepping in their power, and then you're kind of like, or you were that child that's like, hey, and then they're like, what are you doing? Go sit down. Like, you know what I mean? And so as I was saying, like with the kids before the phone is malfunctioning, you're doing something powerful. You are changing the game. You're doing something powerful because it's a nonstop attack on my phone since we started. I'm proud of you. Keep it up. Keep it going. Go even harder. But I was saying, like the kids, for example, and this is just one thing they're a part of. They're a part of things where the kids formed crews and the adults formed crews, the parents formed crews. So, for example, Asia texted this morning. Asia's my oldest, she's 23. One of the crews is volleyball. They meet in Miami Beach and they play volleyball. Another kid, they have like skateboarding. Another one, they do Bible study. Another one, they do, and there's like 200 different crews. So you can find and you can create your own.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you put them in different things. And we are fortunate to be in Florida where you have an endless amount, a sea of things that you can put your kids in that are free. That are free. And so I'm a very big advocate for sign up with museums, sign up with your public library, because they have access to so many things that you don't even know that they do, and they're completely for free. And they also help with the homeschool kids as well. I'm gonna tell you something that a lot of parents didn't know that I didn't know. The public libraries have invested millions of dollars, for example. What is it called? I forgot the acronym or the name of it, but for example, sewing classes, they've invested millions of dollars in some machines, 3D printing, production. They teach you production. They teach you all stand-up comedy. Like it's endless. It's endless. And so a lot of parents are not aware that there's so many organizations that if your kids are actually homeschooled, they can attend these during the day, all day long. You know what I mean? And for free. And so with socialization, I feel like not only do they get to socialize with other kids, they can socialize with adults. They can socialize with other go-getters, hustlers, entrepreneurs, CEOs. But the thing about it that I liked the most was I had some semblance of control over who was around my child. The influence over my child. I was able to be like, no, let's go over here. When they're in school, you have no idea.
That's true.
You have no control over this. You know what I mean? And then in real time, you can teach your kids. So let's say you take your kid, let's just say a playground. You take your kids to a playground. You can teach them in real time. Hey, Amari, what do you think about this kid? Watch him for a second. Watch them. He observes everyone. And I'm like, when you have the opportunity to teach your child in real time, which kids to stay away from, why? It's so much better versus when you send them to school, you can't teach them in real time because you're not there to see it. You're not there to witness it. You're not there to be like, Amari, you see how that kid just did that to that other kid? You see how, don't let them do that to you. You can't do that. And you have someone else raising your child. I get to be around my kids, thank God, more than anyone was ever around me. And honey, I don't even know how I survived doing half the stuff I was doing. I was like jumping off of like 1-story buildings and climbing up fences, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how I don't have broken bones, but the kids these days, I feel like they need their parents and parents need their children. We don't have that bond. You're missing the bond from when you don't have your children most of the day, and then they come home, and then it's like you got an hour, and then you got to eat, and then it's time for bed. When do you get to really bond with the child that you brought into this world?
You're right. And to your point about making sure children are careful, or you can't always see who they're around when they're at school. I just told this story the other day on Mama Tales that I was in seventh grade at Sunland Park at 7 in the morning, waiting to go to school, and the neighborhood bully and drug dealer was there, and he was counting his money, and he caught me looking at his money, and he called me over and propositioned me. He was like, "If you want to make this, you got to sell this," and he pulled out 3 crack rocks out of his pocket and presented me with the opportunity to make that wad of cash that he had. And
Yeah.
if my mother had not spoken to me a year previously about my dad's drug addiction to crack, I wouldn't have had any point of reference when this guy presented this opportunity to me, and I probably would have took it because of the amount of money that he had in his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had this point of reference that my mother sat down to me and talked to me about a year prior, I knew that crack was bad, and I was like, "Nah, this ain't it." So that's you. You're right. You parents, we have to do a better job and have more control over the people who our children are going to be around, especially the adults. And I'm going to get to that after I do this last question with these stats. We're going to get to some of the adults who are causing harm to our children who are in positions of authority. So, says 72% of homeschoolers are white, 11% are Hispanic, and 8% are Black, and 9% are multiracial. And I think the 72% homeschoolers being white, I think a lot of that, they were the first homeschoolers, and a lot of that started in racism, and they didn't they got money, and they didn't want to be in school without school. You know what I mean? So I think that's how a lot of that homeschooling started. So my question is, do you think more Black families should consider homeschooling their children? Why or why not? Tammy, what's up with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like honestly across the board, but I definitely feel like for us, for our people, absolutely. We are kings and we are queens, and we start early.
Yeah.
We start from 2 years old. You see our light. You see us with our crowns. Like we think differently. We move differently. We act differently. We exist differently, and that needs to be nurtured in a way that's completely different than the systemic system that we're pushed into to become part of the rat race. You know what I'm saying? We are not meant to be put into a box. We are not meant to be fit into a mold. We're not meant to be controlled and be like, oh, from this time to this time, for even sleep patterns. Even sleep patterns. We're not meant to sleep the way that they told us to sleep. You know what I mean? And I feel like for us, as our people, it has taught us to not be ourselves, and our natural state is so powerful, and it's been stripped from us, and our identity has been stripped from us, and in every way we've been stripped. It's just like it's not until you see us come together that we start to transform in a different way. But when we're in school, it's like you sit over there, you be quiet. You got 10 minutes to hang out at lunch. Like it's like, what is with all the rules? And then as chosen ones, we are not meant to be limited, to be so overly structured. We're not meant to. It doesn't help us, evolve and ascend in the way that we're supposed to. Freedom, movement. A freedom to be creative, freedom to express ourselves. We don't do is what we need. We don't do good when we're constantly being stifled, when we're constantly being put under pressure, under a microscope. And then you have to understand, just in some cases, like you have a lot of Black children who are not in an environment where they understand us, where they understand our culture, where they understand how we think as a people, as a unit. You know what I mean? We're naturally unified type of people, but we're put into systems that are full of like segregation and
yes, they hate. Systems that are full of hate.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so it's confusing. You confuse us as children from an early age, and then we grow up trying to adapt to that, and it's constantly fighting an internal, external situation because our natural way of being is not that way, but we have to be that way in order to not get in trouble. We have to conform, and we learn that from, unfortunately, the earliest age when our mind is still forming. You know what I mean? Or formidable years, and it's just so sad because, oh, you know what I saw? Not to interrupt myself, as I always interrupt myself. I saw this documentary. It was like 10 years ago, and I was just like, it was, I don't know what country. I feel like it was like one of those countries that they're more like in the land. They're always in the land. And the mother, they had the children. The reporter was a Caucasian fellow, and he, at the end of the documentary, he said, "Wait a minute, I haven't heard any babies crying. I haven't heard any babies crying the entire week I've been here." And it came down to the mother was carrying the child all day on her, like right with the wraps. And so the children were wrapped around the moms, or, you know, in the moms. And then they were with the moms, they were with the fathers, they were just that alone. It starts even before that, because before they even enter the school system, we're in an environment where we're separated from our offspring. We're separated. In what way in nature does that even work? You know what I mean? And so I feel like for our people, homeschooling is, if you're able to, and that's another thing people don't understand. There's, in my head, there's like more than two worlds of homeschooling. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And that is a blessing. That is a blessing that I don't take for granted, because I know what it's like to work from 7 to 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember that. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. I get to be with my kids, right? But you have other kids who are homeschooled, like I was trying to say earlier, whose parents do have to work. You know what I mean? So there's a different, homeschooling is not just, you know, 1D, one level. It's very multifaceted. It changes depending on your dynamic, your structure, what you're accessible to. You know what I mean? And so I can't even speak on behalf of every homeschooled parent, child, family, because I have a lot more freedom in my own life as a mom. You know what I mean? And so, speaking from my experience, I would encourage every Black family to put their child in homeschool because of my experience. You know, if I know the parent can stay home with their child, or stay home, or be available, I should say, throughout the day, absolutely, without a question.
Okay, you know, thank you, Tammy. Myrhanda, you got something to add to that? Yes or no, and why or why not?
Yes, I really would encourage for our community to really consider homeschooling kids. And, you know, like Tammy said, we're inventors, we're innovators, we are a creative mind. We don't function the same, we don't think the same, and that's not a bad thing. Yet the system has taught that, even when it's a standardized test, when you think back, you know, we were taking SATs, and, you know, back in the day, I may answer something in a certain way, or I may check A when everyone says to check C, but that's depending on my traditions, my culture, my environment. So what I said probably makes perfect sense for my people and what we've gone through.
Right.
But you're telling me to fit into the structure that says there's only one way to skin a cat. And I'm saying, no, there's not. Because when I'm at home, no, I have A, C, D, E, F, G do it. So why did I get the answer incorrect? Leading us to having test scores that don't match our brilliance, because you can't identify children just by the test, just by this, what they did in school, and it doesn't make sense to that teacher. It doesn't make sense to that principal. So now the child is failing, or well, no, the child needs extra help, or maybe the child needs a second opinion. Maybe the child needs to be viewed in a different way, maybe ask more questions. But when you're confined to a certain amount of time and you have to stay at desk for this long period, and you can only stay in this room, then you have to switch, or we have to speed up because sometimes we might need a little extra time to express ourselves because again, we come from a different background. We have a different history.
Absolutely.
And from what I've noticed over, I'm not going to say how I am exactly, but over my years, the system not only is not exactly catered to our people and our children, now we're living in a time where it was already, our identity was already stripped from us, and now our children are being told history did not happen the way it happened.
Yeah.
You were just being sensitive, and so your ancestors. So when I have my child at home and I explain that one, there's not only two people in history, and as much as they've done, it's not Martin Luther King Jr., it's not just Rosa Parks. There are so many others. You have to know, and being told in the book, no, that didn't really happen, or no, it was a misunderstanding. I didn't misunderstand hundreds of years. We didn't misunderstand the discrimination that we still face today. We did not misunderstand labeling. That's what we misunderstood. What they're misunderstanding is us, that we are different, but we are special in our own right. And it has to be acknowledged. And if we can't get acknowledgement in the school system, then bring the child home and let them know that they're beautiful, they're smart, and you don't have to conform, but you can go out and be the amazing person that you're created to be.
Correct. Absolutely. And both of y'all mentioned the word conform. And I've said this for many, many years that conformity is the slowest form of suicide because you're just killing yourself trying to be something else that we weren't created to be. So, man, I appreciate both of your perspectives. I appreciate all the great information that you have given about homeschooling. I just want to, I wanted to go into a discussion about these stories, but we're already at an hour and a half, so we need to wrap this up. But I want you all, my guests, and if you're listening, to look up these two stories and use them as an example as to why I definitely believe that more of the Black community should look into homeschooling. First, out of Hillsborough County, Florida, there was a white art teacher who wrapped a phone charging cord around a black baby doll's neck and then hung the black baby doll from the TV in the classroom so all of the children could see it. And then when the student started asking the teacher, why is the black baby doll hanging up there like that, she starts laughing and says, because I wanted to get y'all's attention. These are middle school students, okay? So that's the first example. And we all know that a noose, through history, it has a history of lynching, torture, intimidation. To me, it was a threat, if you ask me. You are threatening Black and brown children by hanging a black baby doll from your television. So that's example number one. The second example is a mother, Lee. It happened in Louisville, Kentucky. She has a 7-year-old nonverbal autistic child. The school had been calling her about the child acting out and all these different behaviors that the mom wasn't familiar with. The mom asked if she could go in and sit in on the class to observe the child. The school told her no. This goes back to the point y'all made earlier about the schools not doing enough or doing their part in these situations. So the mother had to go to the extreme of placing, her son had locks. She had to place a hidden camera in her son's locks to find out that he was being pinched, strangled, and called the N-word by the teacher assistant in the classroom. And so this video is all over social media now of the mother going up to the school and she's yelling at the people in the office about what she just witnessed with her child being strangled and called the N-word, and the pain that you hear in this mother's voice is heartbreaking. Okay, it is heartbreaking. And so situations like this are still happening to our community. Even in Georgia, 2 or 3 years ago, there was a teacher got in trouble because she did a slave lesson plan that wasn't approved by the school, where she actually auctioned the black children in her class like they were slaves. No, you're not about to traumatize my child like that. because somebody else gonna get traumatized by you traumatizing my child. So it's instances like this, and to quote, and I know a lot of times we don't have a choice on not or whether to put our children in private schools or homeschool or any of that stuff. But the great Malcolm X said a long time ago, only a fool will let their oppressor educate their children. And I've heard that quote for a long time, but it really hits home now. He said this in the 60s. Okay,
Right.
it really hits home now with all of the things that are going on with the current administration. And I don't want to get too much on that because that's a whole other show. But just these examples and a lot of other things going on, like Tammy, like you mentioned, we have to do a better job of knowing the people that our children are around. And a lot of times these covert racists, they hide in the shadows and we don't really know when they plotting on our children. You know what I mean? So we just have to do better as a community. Another great of mine, Dr. Martin Luther King, said, I fear I have integrated my people into a burning building. The building is on fire.
The building's on fire.
It is ablaze. Okay? And we need to start coming up with the extraction plan. And again, I tell people my movement is not about hate, but my movement is about equality and being treated fair. And we're not getting that under these systems that we currently live in. So,
right. I thought of one quick thing. Immunizations.
Yeah,
they're not required if you're homeschooled. And unfortunately, I actually know personally a lot of children who were fine and then they weren't.
And then they weren't.
We're here and then they're no longer here. So that's another thing. If you're not into, vaccinations and all that, a way around that, homeschool your child.
Yep, you're right. All right, we got to wrap up, ladies. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to come and join me. Yes, thank you very much. And with that being said, I'm going to announce my scholar. Okay, my scholars this week go to all the graduates who are graduating during this graduation period. But I have to thank the most special group of children that I just recently worked. And that's my golden guys. Oh, it's blurred. Oh, hold on. I got to take my blur off. Hold on. You can see. My golden guys and gals talent expo from a week and a half ago. My children, I'm going to call them off. Riley Harris, Elise Williams, Abigail Placid, Jeremy Bowen, Janelle Bowen, AJ Williams, Heaven Williams, Destiny Ward, Rayanna Grant, Tatiana Moore, Adriana Ware, and I feel like I'm leaving one student off. Oh, Jordan Scott. He's another one. I am so impressed with these wonderfully talented students. Man, they did a great job. And I'm so glad that Jordan is on his entrepreneur thing and doing what he has to do to be self-sufficient. So shout out to all of these children. I'm so proud of them and all the work that they put in. And thank you, parents, for being the parents that you are, that are raising them the way that you are and having them be productive members of society. So thank you. And with that being said, it's time to end season 10 of Conversations in Education. Thank you to my listening audience. I appreciate you as always, and I will see you in September. Thank you very much. Peace and blessings.